Hello and welcome to Coconut Chats. My name is Mankirat Kaur and here's another episode of FaceTime with Mankirat. Today we have Miss Aditi Nirvaan, who is a mentor and pattern mapping specialist who works with high functioning professionals, leaders, and creatives across India and globally. Her work focuses on helping successful people understand their emotional and behavioral patterns, regulate their nervous system, and build inner stability so success does not come at the cost of burnout or inner pressure. So we welcome you, ma'am, today.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Okay, so can you please tell us, for those meeting you for the first time, how do you describe the work that you do?
I work with people who are very successful on the outside, but they feel very unsettled on the inside. They don't feel successful. They may look it, but they don't feel inside. So, leaders, founders, top management, CEOs of companies, professionals, coaches, doctors, architects, people who are really smart, who are ambitious, who are capable, who are driven, but at a personal level they're stuck in patterns that they cannot mindset their way out of. So things like mindset and affirmations and so many things that haven't been working.
Yeah.
So my job is to decode the patterns that they're stuck in, the emotional, the psychological, and the nervous system based, and translate that into language that they understand, they can work with, and then they can change.
Okay.
So it doesn't involve motivation, but it involves seeing their patterns, which is what I'm actually very good at, and get them to just stop fighting with themselves.
Okay.
Many people are also stuck in, like, how do I say, they're in their own way.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I help them come out of it.
Okay. And why do you think so many accomplished people still feel unsettled or exhausted despite being successful?
Because, in our culture, wherever you are in the world, we are culturally taught to succeed through responsibility,
Yeah.
right? So we take on a lot of burden, we burn out, we get tired, and we are not taught how to regulate ourselves.
Yeah. True.
Emotional regulation, body regulation, nervous system regulation, it is not taught. People don't even know that something like this exists, and this
Exists.
is
Yeah.
another way of living, right? So they think that success comes with a cost of burnout, comes with a cost of fatigue and tiredness and responsibility. And that only when you achieve do you feel that you're worth something or you're valuable. So what
Okay.
happens there is that your body then pushes to stay on alert mode and survival mode throughout. Can you imagine how exhausting that must be for a person to live
Yeah,
like that?
definitely.
You
That
know,
is.
you're constantly edgy. This strategy may work till you become successful, but then what? After that, what? Then comes the crash, the emotional fatigue, and then people start thinking something is wrong with them, but there's actually nothing wrong. They've just been living in a mode that got them to a certain point, and now they don't need that anymore. Yeah,
Yeah.
but now they don't know how else to be. So this is why they are exhausted.
Okay. And you work with shadow work, so your pattern mapping and neurosomatic breath work. How do these actually come together?
So basically, I work more with human patterns. They are more psychological based, and I use pattern mapping tools that I have developed in the last 22 years of my work. And I
Okay.
help people to see their long term emotional and their behavioral patterns very clearly. We all have a set of triggers in our life.
Yeah.
I help them to map out how they get triggered, by what, by who, by which situations, where in their history it comes from. It's not mystical or predictive. It's actually very, very simple to understand a human being from my point of view, because, we all get very confused why we keep repeating the same patterns or the same triggers in our life, is
Yeah.
because we don't know where they're coming from, right? So I help them map these out. I help people use shadow work, nervous system regulation, all of these things to recognize how their patterns show up, especially when they are under pressure or there is conflict or when they are very highly visible. For
Okay.
example, people who have a lot of fame, so they have a different set of patterns from people who work tremendously under pressure. So I help
Definitely.
them to map these out. So the systems you've mentioned, shadow work, pattern mapping, neurosomatic breath work, are all pattern recognition and pattern resetting ways in which I work. And I help people to integrate themselves by using
Okay.
these.
Okay. And how is your work different from therapy? or traditional wellness approaches?
So, therapy is usually about a lot of processing about what happened in the past and what happened to you, or what you did to someone, or the way you behaved in a certain situation, right? We
Yeah.
unpack a lot of that in therapy, and I've done that too with people. I've done that for 18, 20 years with people. Wellness is mostly about feeling better, and it lasts for a very short while. Like
Okay.
you check into a wellness spa or a retreat, or you have a wellness coach for a while, and while you're with them you feel really nice, you feel great for a few days after, but it doesn't resolve the unconscious patterns that are there.
Yeah.
Those remain hidden very nicely during that period, but later on when a bigger trigger occurs, they show up right in your face. So many of my clients are not even looking to revisit their childhood endlessly, or drudge up old memories. People are tired of doing it. यार मतलब बचपन की बातें करके what am I going to get out of it?
Yeah.
Rehashing my childhood. What's the point in all of that? What they want is that I'm in a leadership position. I'm a founder of a company. I have a relationship. I have made tons of money. I have a lot of pressure on me. I want to be able to function better. That is what people are looking for. So, traditional therapy, traditional wellness doesn't work if you want these things. Okay.
Okay.
The work I do is trauma informed work. It is neurodivergent friendly, right? It is LGBTQAI friendly, which means I have to take all of these things into consideration with a person
Yeah.
and keep it structured, keep it contained, and very practical. So my work respects people who are high functioning and have high capacity lives. So it
Okay.
is tailor made for them.
Okay. Great. And who does your work resonate with the most?
My work resonates most with people who are high functioning people. Mostly very successful people who find it extremely guilty to just rest for a minute, who
Yeah.
feel that productivity, being on the run, and getting things done constantly is the need of the hour, and they don't
Mm-hmm.
know any other way to function. But at the same time, they're very tired. There's a deep exhaustion that's there, and they're like, yeah, I just want to relax, but I seem to not be able to do it.
Yeah.
Right. And also, people who are tired of managing their lives, managing themselves, managing their relationships. And they feel like, why am I the only one who's rescuing everyone and everything?
Okay.
So it's them. So a lot of business leaders, professionals, coaches, a lot of successful and visible creatives and entrepreneurs who value depth, who value
Okay.
clarity, structure, and who want a very clear path ahead, and they don't want to break down anymore. They don't want to feel tired anymore. They want to be able to do it all and sleep well and rest.
Yeah. If someone listening feels seen by what you are saying, what would you tell them?
Wow, so many of you guys are trying to put in effort to feel calm, right?
Okay.
You're
Yeah.
using your techniques that you use to become successful, but you're using it now to feel calm and relaxed. If effort was enough, you would already be calm, right? Your
Yeah.
struggle at the moment is not a personal failure. It's a nervous system pattern that you learned early on, and now you don't know how to break out of it. You need to know how to regulate yourself. You need to have clarity about where you are and where you need to go personally. And only when that clarity comes will you have that force that comes from within to move ahead. Right? So,
Okay.
this is what I would like to tell them.
Okay. And I would say that that whatever work that you're doing right now, it is really very insightful. And I must say that you are doing a great job in whatever you're doing right now. So thank you so much,
Thank you
Aditi
so
ji,
much.
for spending your time and giving us your precious time today. It was really, really
No,
informative and very insightful to know things about your job and career. So thank you so much for being here.
thank you so much. Thank you, Mankirat. Thank you. Thank you.